So we just had hands-on time with Battlefield Hardline. We both played multiplayer, we were both on the criminals team, and we played the new Hotwire mode. What did you think of it?
Well, first of all, I think our team would have done a lot better had we cooperated together. It was pretty much every man for themselves in the criminals team.
That tends to happen in a Battlefield game, though. People sort of just wander off and do their own thing.
No, that's right. Although at one point I did see what you were up to, and I followed you around without you realizing it was me, and I hopped in the back of the car you were driving.
Exactly. So the whole point of this game mode is taking the traditional conquest mode, where you need to capture these static flags. And in Hotwire, those flags are actually cars. So you get in the car and you're essentially capturing that car. And to continue getting points from it, you have to drive it around above a certain speed. If you drop below that speed, you no longer get points from it. So there's this kind of perpetual car chase that's happening across the map.
That's right. And although, I think what really slowed down gameplay for that was everyone was kind of doing their own thing, but at the same time, that also applied to the criminals and the cops as well.
Yep.
They were also driving around in their cop cars, looping around in circles around the map, and I thought it was really strange because no one was really kind of going for the same objective at the same time. That being said, it was really fun shooting at cop cars. So I was in the Enforcer. I believe there were a couple of classes or roles that you could play, and I was toting a shotgun and just running around and shooting at cop cars, which would explode in a huge blast of color. When that happened.
And you were saying before, you could actually get in the passenger side of my van that I was driving around and trying to capture. And one of the new things you can do is you can press the third-person view button, and he actually gets out and leans out the window and starts aiming, sort of like what's maybe like heat or something. And it's really cool because it allows you to actually perform a function in the passenger seat, whereas typically you'd sort of just be sitting there and waiting to, get off.
Yeah, and I wasn't really just limited to that one thing either. You pressing X allowed me to shift around the van in different positions. So at one point I was in the passenger seat pointing out with the gun, and then at another point I opened the doors at the back of the van and actually was at the back shooting at the back there as well. And of course you could see that because you were driving in third person view, and you could see me popping in and around these different places in the van.
Were you actually doing damage to the cop cars? Because one of the things is there's very few explosives in this game mode, and that's kind of a way to extend the car chases, because typically explosives kill a vehicle in one hit. So what were you actually doing when you were shooting at them? Did you feel like you were accomplishing something?
Well, I was mainly using the shotgun, and I felt far away you can't really do that much damage. And you are only equipped with one grenade in the build that we were playing. So once I tossed that grenade out and went nowhere, it was kind of that was it. So I did have to rely on shooting the gun that I was using. And it did feel effective actually once we got close enough. It had to be within a certain range. Otherwise, other than that, if you were really far away, you really had to rely on the driver to get you close enough to do the damage that you needed to do.
Right, yeah, I was being the driver for most of the session, and I did find that I was trying to think about positioning myself based on who was popping out my windows and who they were firing at, which is actually really hard to do. But I did find that the map was actually pretty small and not big enough for the kind of game mode that they want. We ended up just doing loops of sort of the perimeter of the map in maybe less than a minute. And I mean, the idea is that they want this kind of perpetual car chase to happen, but you just don't have the physical space to do that in.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I actually felt the opposite. I thought the map was actually just right in terms of size, because a lot of the time when I spawned near vehicles that you can't get into every single car. You have to walk towards it, and then if the prompt pops up saying, hold square to get in the vehicle, then oh, I can get into this car. It's not just decorative. So not every single vehicle is available for you to get into. And so because of that, a lot of the time I was running around chasing other people's vehicles, trying to be like, hey, let me
pick me up,
pick me up, you know, and I was flagging on the voice prompt or the chat prompt as well, I need a ride, I need a ride, and nobody did that, And so because of that, the map was just the right size for someone who was stranded on foot to be running around in and shooting at things and still being I need a ride.
I feel like the more fun role there is being the passenger and shooting out of the window, because you don't really need to pay attention to the fact that, oh, I'm at this part of the map, I've got to turn around again. You're sort of just focusing on actually shooting the pursuing police vehicles, and as long as you're continually on the move, you still get that cool car chase sensation, that sort of fantasy.